My name is Konstantin, and welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Howdy, friends. I would like to touch base with you today, share my health update, make a sincere apology, give you a few brief news updates about Russia, and tell you of the upcoming plans. First, I'll start with a health update. I am feeling so much better, and my face has started moving again. Well, you can see it right now from from this picture. I have some of my energy came back, and generally speaking, I'm feeling 1000% better than before. I'm still on medication, and I will be for a couple more weeks, still recovering, but I'm pretty confident things are going to be all right. Second, the apology. I would like to make a sincere apology. For the past 2 weeks, I have not done much. I have not covered news. I have not spoken about Russia. I have not worked. I felt better a few days ago, and I tried to come back to YouTube, to regular scheduling. I have not succeeded. There are three main problems for that. First is I am slow. Second is I am not as sharp as it used to be. And third is I cannot focus much for long these days on things. Doctors explained that it is a result of the three types of medications I'm taking for blood pressure, for some hormones to take inflammation of my nerve off down, and the third set of medication is to actually to slow me down, to calm down my nervous system, and they've done a good job on that, let me tell you. Well, I guess it's working. I've been much slower than before. I can't focus well. Instead of doing like a 6-8 hour research, it's taking me 4 days now. I keep getting distracted at little things. So I apologize. I apologize. These past 2 weeks have been not very productive. My medications will last for 2 more weeks, and doctors say I should be back to normal state after that. I sure do hope, and I pray for that. Oля is producing 54 news per week now, 9 news a day. They still come every day for the patrons of Inside Russia. But if you decide that it is not enough, I would totally understand. Again, thank you so very much for all your support. Again, I am feeling terrible for not being able to broadcast daily, give you some information daily, not giving back what I want to give, in-depth analysis of what's happening to Russia. And I feel it's very important to know the truth now. Now, let me move to a short update of what I have missed in Russia in this 2 past weeks. Most of my forecasts that I've been making for the past 2.5 years are coming into reality now. Instead of forecasting, I just sit and comment this great drama that is unfolding right in front of our eyes. The following is what I would be talking about in the past 2 weeks if I could. Number one, Russian economy. There are so many interesting developments currently happening. Well, interesting for an economist and for an outsider, but not so interesting for the insiders, the ones who live in Russia. I'd say they're pretty tragic. I'm not going to do in-depth analysis right now, just the highlights. And I wanted to do in-depth, but I have not been able. It's taken me 4 days to do this. I can't say it's basic research, but it's didn't choose to be that difficult. Anyway, now, I should start with inflation. It's breaking records. Russian central bank trying to fight the inflation. It increased the key interest rate to 21% by 2% this past week. That is an absolute record for Russia, and that is a huge topic in itself to talk about. Then the prices are skyrocketing. Everything, starting from food and ending with cars, literally everything. Well, this is what it's called inflation. This is how it affects people. Then the secondary sanctions are hitting Russian economy more and more, harder and harder. Oil trade is dropping, oil revenues are dropping. There is still banking crisis with China going on, and there's no end on the horizon, so to speak. Um, that's the last. That's the major news from last 2 weeks about the economy. And of course, there's a bunch of small details, small news that paint us a big picture of this demise. And some of those details are pretty graphic. And as you know, I pay close attention to the details. I think they're hugely important. The devil is always in the details. So just let me give you a personal example. Someone from Rostov region, my distant family members, called me over the weekend and we chatted. They complained how difficult it has become to survive, to live. Just they give me one example: butter. Butter is Russians like butter. It's one of the staples of diet, Russian diet. So butter now is sold in cages, anti-theft cages, to prevent stealing. Butter has doubled in price. It's now costing around 800 rubles per kilo. In some stores even more, and more people simply cannot afford it, especially older retired folks. So the stores nationwide started caging up butter. My distant relatives, she works as a kindergarten teacher, and she makes 25,000 rubles per month. That's Rostov region. It's not Moscow, it's not a big city, it's a smaller town. And her husband was making 25 and he just changed the job. He's now making 40. Half of their income goes to pay utilities every month. And whatever they have left, they have one child, whatever they have left in the pocket is not enough. Not much they can afford anymore. So they complained extensively. And they both have higher education, an engineer, and no, you have to have a degree, bachelor's degree, to teach at the kindergarten in Russia. So they're used to be middle class, but now they're not anymore. The second example is the hunger strike in the Russian city, Russian region of. Just Kuzbas, of course. Sorry, I'm slow these days. Memory suffers somehow. So, Kuzbas, there's a hunger strike. Coal miners have not been paid since July at one of large mining companies. So they started staging street strikes. And I will cover more of that because to me, it is what matters the most. You can say anything on how Russia is circumventing the international sanctions brilliantly, how its GDP is growing, how Russia has become the economy number 4 in the world. And yes, they are talking in Russian media, in propaganda about it all the time, non-stop. You can say anything you want. But to me, that's not real. The real picture is in the food stores where the butter is caged because the retired people can't afford to buy it anymore. The real picture is in the coal mines where people, the miners, to me, they're very honest people. They make very honest living, very hardworking. Coal miners, oh, come on. They are so desperate. They just want to get paid for the work they have done and feed their families. Okay? And this, to me, that's much more important than talking about the macro parameters of Russian economy and so forth. So please expect more on that from me in the recent days. I hope. I don't promise, but I hope. And I'll be covering that. And as a bonus, I'll give you a couple very exclusive insights. No one else has it, okay? One is from Russia's largest oil extracting company called Rosneft, and another one is from Norilsky Nickel, Russia's nickel and palladium mining and smelting company, one of the largest in the world. I will tell you in more details later, and it's definitely worth knowing the details, what's going on. But now, in nutshell, Norilsky Nickel first. I have some people who I know well who still work in Norilsky Nickel, and they're still in Russia, in Norilsk, in Moscow, and I talked to them. We had a friendly chat, and I inquired what's going on inside the company. Well, guess what? Norilsky Nickel is in deep red. It's pretty bad. There is an explanation for that, very reasonable, logical explanation. One of my forecasts coming true, actually. But I will be telling you more about that later. So please understand the scale of this catastrophe. Norilsky Nickel is used to be one of the most profitable companies in Russia. It's a resource that belongs to Putin's friends. It's one of the largest nickel and palladium mines in the world. There are some numbers for you for 2022. Norilsky Nickel had the revenue of $16.9 billion, 2022. The operating income was $7.58 billion. And the net income, that was left at shareholders' pockets after they paid taxes, all operational expenses, and so forth. Basically, what they took home was $5,850,000,000 US dollars. 2 years later, and Norilsky Nickel is in deep red for very good, economically viable reasons. And I have the second exclusive insight for you from a company called Rosneft. Starting January 1st, Rosneft, one of the largest oil companies in the world, that was, just like Norilsky Nickel, extremely profitable. Oil company. So starting January 1st, Rosneft is cutting salaries of most of its employees by 40% due to extremely unsatisfactory financial results. This tells us a lot. All right, enough about the economy now. As soon as I feel better, I will come back with in-depth explanations. Please don't give up on me. Just give me a little bit of time to recover. Number 2, I'd like to update you on Russian and international politics. There are 2 major events happened in the last couple of weeks. Well, in both international and Russian domestic politics. First is the BRICS Forum, a big meeting that happened in Kazan just a few days ago. And I would like to take an in-depth look into BRICS. I think it's definitely a topic that is important and it's worth looking into, okay? I've been studying and I find very good insights about BRICS in general. And this meeting in Kazan, it was extremely important, and I'll tell you why. And the next event in the international politics is happening right now. It's in Georgia, the country Georgia, not the state of the United States. Georgia is going through a very hard time right now. Basically, the pro-Russian forces are taking over the country and the parliament as we are speaking, as I am speaking right now. The parliamentary elections have just been finished. And it looks like the majority of Georgians voted or supported the political party called Georgian Dream, linked to Russia's KGB. Russia is taking the country back. A lot of Georgians, from what I understand, support that move somehow. They support the decision to get closer to Russia, to go away from the EU, and to go back to the USSR. I am shocked. I've been to Georgia myself. I know quite a few Georgians. I have friends from Georgia. I'm shocked. I'm trying to figure out what is happening in the country. It's definitely going to be one of the topics, and I might even have a special guest, a Georgian politician that I know, on my channel to speak of Georgia and the transformation that the country, well, the reverse transformation that the country is going through. It broke off Russia in 2003, and now it's going back. So, next thing I'd like to cover is, real briefly, is social changes in Russia. That's an everlasting story. It keeps on happening, but I have a feeling that in the last few weeks, the changes have been intensifying. Plenty of news and changes there. Russian state is tightening control over people by creating new laws that limit freedoms even more and take rights away even more. Instead of focusing attention on real issues that matter for the country, and of course the biggest issue is Russia is invading, is showing aggression against Ukraine, waging a war in Ukraine. And instead of just discussing how to stop that, how to achieve peace as soon as possible, instead of talking about the economy that is basically going down the drain, instead of talking about how to stop the killings of Russians, hundreds of thousands of Russians and Ukrainians, instead of taking how to liberate Kursk and explaining it to the Russian citizens, because that's what they're paying the taxes for protection, right? They come up with bogus fake agenda and try to distract attention. Things like quadrobbers, kids dressing like cats and dogs and playing like cats and dogs. Quadrobbers are, if you didn't know, it's the biggest threat for Russia. It comes from the West. It's been planted in Russia by the West, specifically to destroy Russian sovereignty, to destroy minds of Russian kids, and so forth. Things like that. So I will cover that, but know that these things just keep on coming in and from Russia. They keep on happening. Of course, there have been quite a few epic fails from Russian politicians I will talk about. And the cherry on top of the cake is the new law Russian parliament is discussing, is creating right now, and they're promising to make it a law before the end of 2024. The law on destructive ideology, promoting destructive ideology. What is the destructive ideology? Well, that's the beauty of it, Destructive ideology could be anything. Criminal subcultures, emo subculture, child-free, LGBT+, alcoholism, drug addiction, quadroberism, watching Western movies, playing Western computer games, you name it, wearing blue jeans. That could be a destructive ideology. Or wearing, Western clothes. Anything what government decides can become destructive ideology. And they're seriously discussing it right now. What a mad circus it is. There's a huge problem coming up in the recent weeks, and it's not far away. It's around the corner. It's the Russian utilities, the current state of Russian utilities. This winter will be cold, just like Gazprom said a couple years ago, We'll see how they're going to be coping with this cold winter. And a few things I also will cover. And number 4, there's a very hot topic right now. There's a lot of Russians are involved. I don't think that the Westerners know much about it, but there's a huge fight inside Russian opposition, political opposition. You see, there are a few groups, and there are a few politicians, and they started attacking each other. The latest development is Alexei Navalny's organization that he created when he was alive and free, the Foundation for Fighting the Corruption, basically has been caught red-handed by taking stolen money by the bankers who were connected with Russian government back 10 years ago. So there's been discussions, there's been the fight going on, accusations, videos back and forth, and so forth. This is disgusting. But you gotta know what's happening, okay? At least I'm not gonna give you the details of that. It's just I'm gonna cover in upcoming streams, days, weeks, I don't know, as soon as I can. I will just give you so you know what's happening there. I basically want to stay away from those people as far as I can. Some other topics that sparkle my interests are the upcoming collapse of mass transit, airlines and trains. It's inevitable, it's coming. I'm watching closely. I have quite a few observations, ideas, info, and I'll be sharing that. Then I'm closely watching the life of a few families from the West that have moved to Russia permanently. They've been the talk of the town, basically, in Russia, and Russian propaganda is using them as one of the tools to show how great Russia is and how it's keeping family values and, it's become the traditional state and so forth. So, you see, I wanted to make a quick video about that, and I started gathering information, doing research. And instead of making a quick movie or a live stream, I started comparing my life and the life of people I know here in Tashkent. And I personally know about 1,500 people. That's the size of Tashkent Breakfast Club right now, that support group that I have created, and we meet daily. We met this morning, and I usually cover our meetings at Patreon, making pictures to patrons available, and just we interact there. So I'm comparing lives of our friends with those Westerners who came to Russia. So we ran away from Russia as fast as we could. And they ran to Russia to live there, to move there permanently. So we must have very different outlooks on the country. My video, I'm not judging anyone. I'm trying to understand, and I actually sympathize to quite a few people who are media stars in Russia right now, and I think you know who they are. But I'll be covering that. It's definitely one of those topics that is coming up. Well, friends, this is basically what I've been thinking about. I wanted to end this video by saying I promise you I will get back, soon and things like that. Well, you know what? I have already made that promise before. And for the past 2.5 weeks, well, 2 weeks, I have not produced anything. I have not delivered. My meds will last for 2 more weeks. I am not making any promises for these 2 weeks. I will be trying as hard as I can to produce something, but I don't know how I succeed or not. I just want you to know I am still here. I am still breathing. There's still fire burning inside me, and I will not quit. I have no intentions. I have much to say. I miss YouTube. I miss this opportunity to having a voice, to be able to reach to many people and share my thoughts. I apologize for not being productive. I'm doing my best to recover, and I can promise you that I will try to recover as soon and as fast as possible. Again, thank you so very much for all your support. The love, I'm feeling it. Prayers, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling them. Emails, words, encouragement, money, thank you so very much. You know what, again, I'm feeling like I have underworked, underachieved. If anyone wants to sign off from Patreon, or just get the money back, coffees or whatever, I totally would understand. I love you all. God bless you. Stay healthy. Carthago delenda est.